Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's last episode of the showcase season marathon that we had. It's been 4 days in a row that we had a podcast here on this channel. On Saturday we did the prediction show, we did post shows to, of course, the Xbox showcase, to the Ubisoft showcase yesterday and today to the extended showcase, but we want to use this show also to wrap just everything up that happened over the last couple of days or weeks. And to do that, we have actually 2 awesome guests today, but the second one will be a little late. But we can take that time to welcome Luke back to the world of gaming. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, we're just saying it's been a while, so it's good to be back and to talk about obviously the extended showcase, and I guess about some other stuff as well that we've seen over the period, just in general. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for taking the time. It's always fun chatting games with you, man. And the last couple of times we had you on, we had to pick your brain always about the ABK thing. So it's good times that we get to talk about actual games for a while.
It's great times. Great times.
Indeed. And of course, Wandering Dutch is here. How are you feeling after this marathon of showcases and podcasts and coverage that we did on our channel?
It's not quite over yet. We've got today, we've got the podcast tomorrow, another podcast tomorrow evening, Boxy's podcast on Thursday, and then we get a rest. Then we get to rest on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. I managed to get a little bit of gaming in today before the extended.
Sweet.
Thank God. We played a bit Diablo, of course, as we're all knee deep in that. But yeah, I'm feeling good, feeling a bit tired and things like that. But it's been fun. It's been good to react to a few things, seen awesome new games from not just Xbox, but of course the awesome Star Wars Outlaws, which showcased yesterday, which looked phenomenal. And a few other kind of teasers for games and other showcases as well, which looks great. So yeah, it's been a good time. It's that time of year again where we awesome new announcements, and I'm looking forward to diving into it with Luke and Asante as well today. So
yeah, awesome. I also managed to play a little bit of Diablo earlier. That game is gonna consume me so much. Luke, have you played anything lately?
Well, Diablo. Just being Diablo.
What class did you go for?
I went with Necromancer, which I would typically do. Obviously didn't with the third because they didn't have it at launch, so I was Barbarian, but I wanted to go Necromancer here, and I've just been, in fact, myself and my wife have been completely addicted to it, so we're just like running loads of stuff together. In fact, she's a higher level than me now, because she literally just gets in from work and just like does like for 3 hours of Diablo, and I'm tired, so I'm like, nah. And in fact, I think last night she just completed the campaign.
Oh, nice.
So, but she was shocked because this is really the first proper Diablo for her. So she was shocked to find out that that's actually just kind of the beginning of the game in Diablo, like when you finish the campaign.
Yeah.
So she's really looking forward to it. And I'm nearly at the soft level cap now with the Necromancer, and I've got like 2 acts left. I've actually got to that point not really by doing much of the story. I just love just doing side quests and exploring the world. It's just a joy to kind of play the game, which is a novelty in this day and age, isn't it? So just that. And then the only other thing, I've got like various things on the backlog. I need to go back to Zelda.
I have to finish it too.
Yeah, it's just such a big game, and Diablo is such a big game. The only thing I broke for yesterday was the Final Fantasy 16 demo. So I played that.
Nice. How is it?
But I really loved it. Yeah, I really loved it. There's some performance issues. It's not the performance mode in that game's not great.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of actual performance, but in terms of the resolution sacrifice. It's kind of smeary. So begrudgingly, I locked it on the 30 mode, which I really didn't want to do, but it's kind of a better experience in the performance mode. But in terms of the actual game, it's fantastic for those 2 hours.
Nice. Yeah, I've yet to try that. I have so many demos. I also have the Lies of P demo, which is sitting there waiting for me. But with all the coverage of the showcase season and actual life,
it's in the way.
It is almost impossible. But yeah, so we're gonna have an awesome show here today. Of course, we will talk about the extended showcase that just wrapped up. I will, guys, for those who don't know, there is a Forza deep dive streaming right now. I will put that on the screen in parallel, and I actually skipped back for those who missed the beginning, of course. So I will just run that footage here in parallel whilst we talk about, of course, all things Xbox and everything else. So, Luke, did you have the chance to watch the extended showcase? I hope so.
I did.
So,
yes.
What did you think? What did you think about the entire thing before we go through some of the games? Yeah. But in general, how did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think it was always going to be really hard coming off the showcase that they had, which was like, my view on that was it was really, really good. I think it was the best showcase of any showcase this season, as it were.
Absolutely.
So I really loved that. So I think it was always hard with the extended stuff because, you know, they're not really exciting. The extended showcases, they're insightful, but they're not exciting. But I thought it was fine. It ended in a bit of a weird way. I found it quite odd that they ended with Phil Spencer playing 33 Immortals, which is great that he's highlighting it, and I liked the kind of that he's trying to give that personal touch to it all. But it was just a bit of a soft ending for me. But surprised Forza wasn't there in a way. I know that they've got the concurrent like Forza monthly on, but it just seemed like, why wouldn't you run that kind of after the showcase and put some Forza in the showcase, the extended showcase? So yeah, no, it was interesting enough, right, for what it is.
I agree. Dutch, what did you think of the show? The extended show?
It wasn't the strongest extended showcase. I think last year's was better, and even the year before was better as well. I think the pacing was a little bit off this time around, but again, they included, and this is one thing, you're kind of doubling down on the same stuff we saw with Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76. Like, you announced the updates yesterday. I didn't really need the deep dives into the updates today. I get the Elder Scrolls fans and the Fallout 76 fans will be happy to get that news, but it was, again, I'd hoped they'd use that time to maybe give a better look at Hellblade and not more mocap studio stuff, which we've seen before. And even the Avowed thing, it was more just discussing kind of what we saw on screen as opposed to anything new. So it kind of felt like it was just, we're just going to do what we do and podcast and talk about the stuff that we saw on screen. I kind of felt what it was there, as opposed to kind of diving into it. It's obviously it's interesting to learn about the mocap features on Hellblade and things like that. But right now, what we all really want is to see what that game looks like in action. Not just kind of sections of more of the cinematic in-game stuff where you kind of walk in and experiencing the audio, or you're going across the beach and setting up the raid on this giant troll, which looked cool, but it didn't still give you the feel of what you were doing, really, or how it came to that place. So it would have been better to get a kind of a better gameplay update of Hellblade that way.
Which is kind of weird, because from the Xbox Wired article and how they promoted this extended showcase, to me it sounded that Avowed and Hellblade gameplay would be there. That's what we all read out of the announcement. So them just talking over the trailer was not what I expected.
And another thing as well, of course, I think the best kind of deep dive that they did on the game was actually for Towerborn. Towerborn looked better again today. Yesterday, it kind of looked like, okay, that's cool. But I think it looked better on this one, where they're saying, okay, we're going to keep adding to this. This is just the start of this game. Like when it releases and it drops, kind of, we've got this story. The story's already laid out. We're going to do story expansions.
Yeah,
we're going to add to the world. It's a cooperative world. It's couch co-op as well, so you can kind of enjoy it that way. There's upgrades and there's new armors, new weapons. You can kind of mix and match things. So you can decide how you want to tackle certain places and dungeons. And that was the kind of the best overall new look at one of the games announced yesterday. The day before yesterday.
Yeah.
was Towerborn. I think that was the best kind of preview that we saw on the extended. Yeah.
Good points. We will talk about them in a second, but let me welcome our other guest. Kay Asante is here. How are you doing, my friend?
Good day, folks. I'm doing great, man. I just finished watching the extended extended Xbox showcase because the is not allowed for some reason. I have no reason why. I have no understanding why, but
why
the is not allowed. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they refused to say the extended Xbox showcase. Welcome to Showcase. Yesterday on Showcase, the is not allowed for some reason. But no, I'm here and I'm looking forward to chatting it up with you guys. Good to see you all.
Yeah, great that you've made it here, and thanks so much for coming on. It's always a blast to chat gaming with you. So cool to have you on. So we were just talking about our general impressions of the extended showcase. But before I get your opinion, I got a reminder that I forgot to welcome our community, and I feel already very bad. So at the beginning of the podcast, I usually also welcome, of course, the community, which is awesome that so many of you have shown up here today to talk with us about, of course, the extended showcase and everything else that happened during showcase season. We made it through the showcase season now. We've seen them all. And there's a lot to talk about today. And so a big welcome to you. And of course, also a big welcome to everyone who listens after the fact here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you listen. Welcome. Asante, what did you think? So in general, before we talk about certain details, but did you enjoy it?
I mean, I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's one of those situations where you quit while you're ahead, you know what I'm saying? Like they knocked it out of the park yesterday, and then they had to remind us that, yesterday was unusual because this is usual. And not to take anything away from the substance of it, because there was a lot of things I saw there that I really enjoyed. There were a lot of things I saw that there was a lot that wasn't there that I wish I had seen. Right? It's really interesting. Talking to all of our community members and all our buddies that are in LA and a few other places, there's a lot more to these games than what we saw. There are actual like gameplay that people are actually have hands on, but they just showed us tone pieces in certain respects. So I was hoping that this extended would kind of put more meat on the bone on things like on South of Midnight and a few of these other things, right? Which just gave us in-game tone pieces, cool, right? In-game tone pieces, but still they didn't really take it there and go, okay, this is the moment to moment. This is what you will be quote unquote playing. A lot of that was left off the cutting room floor, you know? Yeah. So while I did appreciate a lot of the stuff I saw, just a quick, and I tend to, so that my memory's not as good as it used to be. Gray beards, what are you going to do, right? So I write everything down as I'm going through. So really quickly, there you go.
Right in front of me.
You hear me, you feel my plain fellow gray beard. I understand.
Yeah.
So real quick, like I will say the host, the way the whole thing was put together, well done. Great. I think it was absolutely awesome.
It was cool to see not one of these personalities host the show, but an actual Xbox manager. Tina is the head of programming.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes. I thought that was super cool. When they first hired her, I thought that was notable. She used to do this job at IGN, so they basically poached her from IGN, and she does that now here. Yeah. Her team supposedly led all of the most of the graphics, the animation, the video work you've seen these days. So her team does that. So it looked really good. So the pacing and the content and all that was her responsibility. And she looks like she knows how to talk to people on stage. She did a good job. So And the best part about it, which is a criticism I've given Xbox a lot, for a platform that's supposed to be for youngins, how about you put some young faces on that screen? And they finally did, right? I love Major Nelson, but he's a gray beard like me, right? You know what I'm saying? Finally put some youth on the screen.
Hey, absolutely.
I love Paris Lily, but he and I trade age. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's good. They have young, fresh blood on there. She did a great job. So I thought that was good. A lot of really great stuff. Cyberpunk was awesome. I will actually pick out things that I thought was notable and interesting. Lamplighters League, I didn't think I was going to like it. You know, I'm an XCOM guy, but that seemed more like in the genre, almost a clone of, if you will.
Yeah.
And after this, I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. Very much in the PC focused area, but I'm looking forward to it. It's something that I'm now, after seeing this, I'm thinking would be pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
The first Descent, I am totally not a multiplayer gamer. That game got me. I signed up. It's really good. Looks really, really, really good. I'll try it for a week. I won't be able to pause. I'll get my butt kicked and I'll quit. But that's the way it's gonna be, right? It looks really, really good.
It reminded me a little bit of Vanquish meets Outriders, something in between that. Yeah.
Tidbits that were teased out here. I heard you saying that Dutch Towerborn.
Yeah,
I think that is the next big game that no one's giving credit to, because the way they're talking about it, as far as seasons and whatnot, and what they've built there, they are literally like they're eyeballing your Breath of the Wild / what's the derivative of Breath of the Wild that came out that was also successful? I'm sorry, Genshin Impact. They're Genshin impacting there. It's that crowd they're going for, right? It starts cute, it starts interesting, and they layer on top, and everyone can be custom, and everybody can bring multiplayer across the board. It looks super interesting. I think that thing's gonna be magic. We just don't see it yet because it just, it seems shallow, it seems cute, so maybe people give it short shrift. I think that thing may be your next big monster title that you're just not aware of, right? So I thought that was interesting. There's just so much more to go through.
We'll go through some of the things.
I think the content was great. How they put it together maybe leaves a little bit to be desired. Yeah, that's my sense of it.
Yeah, sweet. So for me, I thought it was good, not great, not bad either. I expected something a little different, honestly, after them, again, teasing Hellblade gameplay, Avowed gameplay, and all we got is explanations, which is fine. I like to see the dev diaries. I like to get the infos, especially on Avowed. We got a lot of info, more infos. So that was good. I also thought the pacing was okay. Tina did a fine job. The ending, I'm with Luke, little weird how they ended it. On the other hand, a little funny, like putting Phil there, the gamer. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed in his title descriptions, they didn't put head of Xbox. They said Phil Spencer, the gamer, or a gamer,
which is great, right?
Which is funny.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah. Then he tried to steal my username, called himself the Wandering Soul. I don't get that.
No, but let's take a quick moment there, right? What CEO of a triple? Oh, please go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Because I wanted to, before I lose it again, shout out Joshua, who sends in a $10 super chat, and he said, "You misunderstand how Bleed 2 it's." I think it is related to your comments. Yeah.
I've kind of covered it in the chat as well, but obviously we can highlight it because obviously he sends in an awesome $10.
Yeah.
So just saying, you misunderstand how Hellblade 2 combat is going to look like. The troll fight, that's almost all in cinematic puzzle game. How the world looks is schizophrenic. My reply, of course, is thankfully it isn't a puzzle game this time around. Not in that sense. Of course, there's going to be still a couple of little puzzles here and there that do with psychosis, but it's an entirely different game. They've already said as much. It's because of the resources that they've got now. They're not using 20 devs. They don't have to limit their scope.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger, more different game than you've expected before. Definitely cinematic, because that's what they're pushing for. This highly immersive cinematic game, which is why the mocap's so deep as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, vastly different this time around.
I mean,
big emphasis on combat, which is why we keep saying we need to see the combat, because we know how much work they're putting
about that. Dutch, about that real quick, Dutch. What does that say to you? Because I know you're a huge fan of this game, and I am a huge fan. I'm super excited to see more of this. Like, this game is rumored to rival some of the best combat games going, right? Yeah. In cinematics, in graphics, in animation. What the shot that they are, going for is really, really ambitious. And every time we see it, we only get tone pieces. They refuse refuse to show us combat. What's up with that?
I think they're being perfectionists. I really honestly do. I think they're being perfectionists at a point. It seems like they just want to show dribbles. And I feel like, and this is exactly what, as we know, Playground did for Fable last year when they were like, we want to show Fable, we want to show Fable, we want to show Fable. And Playground said, no, we'll show Fable when we're ready to show Fable. They're like, okay. And I feel like Ninja Theory are kind of on that same wavelength. They're just like, we're happy with what we're doing. We're really happy with what we're doing. We'll give you kind of glimpses at the game and the story, but we're not going to show you anything else until we're ready to show you that. I'm confident in this studio, but
you have put something in my head when you talked about that a couple of days ago, and it is why they haven't shown the sword fighting and the movement of Senua in when someone properly controls, because it's probably going to look so good that you have to have like the real right moment to announce it, and that would be at the Game Awards. If you show at the Game Awards, combat trailer, gameplay trailer, and then announce the release date for I don't know, February, March next year, you would melt the internet.
We've got with this as well. Unlike Fable, which the reason people were adamant, it wasn't gameplay, even though there were gameplay segments in there, is because Fable notoriously has a HUD, obviously that you can kind of differentiate. Although saying it without a HUD, I want to play it without a HUD. It's because it looks beautiful. But Hellblade does not have a HUD. They do not have any heads-up display in that game. So even when they show combat gameplay off, I think people are still going to say that's not gameplay unless they see someone literally holding a controller and playing the game, which is our issue. I think it is going to look amazing, but people aren't going to believe it's gameplay unless they see someone play.
Dutch, I actually think Senua walking up to that water was actually gameplay, and of course it kicks into cinematics when she sees herself in the water. But just the few frames, and I hope that some among us who do spend times pixel peeping and looking at the speeds and feeds can prove that, because you can prove that.
Oh, it is.
If you look at it. Exactly.
Yeah,
you can prove it. So I hope we see that, because I think that is gameplay. But they, of course, being a victim of their own success, it looks so good, no one will believe you. And of course, you're trying to be as HUDless as possible. So it's just one of those things.
I mean, the first game didn't have a HUD.
Without a HUD, that's what I'm saying, which is going to be ultimately the issue when they do come around to showing combat, is people are going to think it's a cinematic show, and they're not going to think it's gameplay, because Hellblade doesn't have a HUD. So they're just, we're going to have this debate until it's released, essentially. We're going to see combat, we're all going to know it's combat gameplay, but the hordes, the loudmouths on the socials are going to say it isn't gameplay until they get hands-on. And
Microsoft could nip it in the bud for us, just like they have all these other things. Hey, this is captured on Series X. It's written there now, right? It took a lot of yelling and screaming, but now you literally have it there. Hopefully they hear these conversations early and they go, oh, by the way, here's the next-gen gameplay footage of Senua Saga. And oh, by the way, here, Keely, here's a controller in your hand to prove it, right? Hopefully they nip that in the bud. We shall see,
Just a dev direct on Hellblade where they sit down and they go, right, here we go.
After the success of the Starfield Direct, they will do that more often with the bigger games that they have dedicated.
Because they've gotten very good positive feedback on that. So
I don't think Avowed would need a deep dive like Starfield. I think Fable will. I think Hellblade will. These big cinematic games, the grandiose ideas, I think those will need the deep dives. I don't think Avowed does, because we kind of all understand what that's going for there. We've seen the actual gameplay.
Not sure, because with Avowed they introduce a complete new world, a new lore. For most people, I know the ones who play Pillars are familiar with it, but guys, let's go through the showcase. Let's go through. Luke, I'm gonna start with you. Phantom Liberty with Keanu Reeves basically opened the show. I know you're looking forward to melt your 4090 with that DLC. What did you think of course, the DLC and the interview with Keanu?
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime Keanu does anything, I think it's just entertaining. He's just got that kind of charisma about him, hasn't he? Yeah. And he seems, I think the thing that's always struck me about when he talks about Cyberpunk is he seems genuinely very invested and passionate about it. So it's not just like a gig to him, you know what I mean? Like he really loves that world and Johnny Silverhand, etc. So it was nice. It was nice to see him again. I'm surprised they got him for another thing, really, but that was cool. And then the little gameplay elements they showed off, I thought it looked great. Like I'm pretty sure, like, because I mean, Kay Sante's in the same boat here. Like we played this game on a 4090 with the RT Overdrive. The Phantom Liberty stuff looks better to my eye visually. It looks like they've had some like upgrades across their engine to make this kind of visually hit another bar. I think mainly in terms of some of their lighting and some of their post-processing, and definitely their character models look a lot better than the base game.
They started before Overdrive mode with the rasterized stuff, so they had to clean that up with Phantom Liberty. They started with the Overdrive mode already as a factor in the equation, so it looks more seamless than the earlier editions do. Absolutely, it does look that way.
So it looks a lot. It does.
I can add something to that. Earlier today, they confirmed that they have a new rendering pipeline for all characters, new material physics implemented for the ray tracing. They have a complete new overhaul of the AI system. The police system is completely reworked and works completely different than in the main game. So they did a lot to it.
Yeah.
So, but please, Luke, continue.
It looks good.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it looks good, and I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the base game. I've finished it now finally, but to me, like it's a 7 out of 10 kind of game. Like I think part of that was the hype around it. Maybe I got sucked too much into that, as I think did a lot of people. So it's not as if I look at that, say, in the same way as The Witcher 3, which I think is one of the best like role-playing games ever made. But I think this looks really, really good, and you can tell that they're trying to put a lot of effort into this. Obviously, not just with the DLC, but then all the kind of base game upgrades that you mentioned, to try and kind of win back a lot of the goodwill that was lost back at the launch of this game. And I think they've done a lot of that already through their continued support. But I think this is the next step, kind of delivering, an even more impressive experience, and the fact that it's like the story looks great, Idris Elba looks great, new area of Night City. I'll definitely pick it up because it looks good. It looks really good.
It does. You guys want to add something, or want to talk about Hayo Knife, which came next?
Oh, I'll just say I'm down to roll another character, 100%. I love Cyberpunk. I thought the base game was great.
It was
more DLC in this world. Count me in. Yep.
Yeah, same. I loved the first the base game as well. This kind of feels almost like a sequel. The only thing for me is with this one is the release date. They couldn't have chosen a worse date to release.
They did it last time. The update, the next gen update, the release
the update. What that game needs or would have needed is like a reboot. They had the chance to do that with the next gen patch and everything that they released. They dropped that right in between Elden Ring and whatever came out after Elden Ring. Mm-hmm. And this time they do that with Starfield and the October Madness. That is, of course, Spider-Man and Alan Wake and Assassin's Creed, and it's you put that DLC right in the middle of that. It's a DLC won't survive this, especially not from a controversial game like Cyberpunk anyway. So, but we shall see. Huh?
One thing I did like about it though was that they stipulated on the bottom here, they didn't even use the fidelity mode to showcase the game. They showcased it in
performance mode. That's right.
And it still looked glorious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the only thing I probably would have loved more than that was if they showed it the Series S.
Yeah,
that would have been better.
Yeah, indeed. So next was a High on Knife, horror DLC for High on Life. Any thoughts on that?
It looks cool.
Yeah, probably going to be very gross. Probably going to be very blue. Sign me up. Let's go.
Absolutely. I didn't expect that. It was a nice surprise. So and then
my question is, what are they going to do with the voices? Since the person responsible for a lot of those voices is no longer associated with that studio. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's Knifey is the main.
Yeah, that's true. That's
leader,
true.
Which wasn't Roiland, was it?
Which wasn't Roiland. Yeah. But there will be a lot of lines for the Roiland characters too, though. In this,
maybe
DLC.
they'll just kill them off.
I look forward to seeing what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. No release date though, so no idea when that's coming. Then we had. I'm just going through the list here. A Sunday, yeah. So. Now I can't read my own writing. The Lampfighter League.
Lamplighters League.
Lamplighter League.
That's the XCOM-esque game. Yeah.
Exactly. That you already said October 3rd. Looks good. Anyone else? Any thoughts on that?
I thought it looked quite cool, actually. Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah, it's also not for me. Then they had Avowed. I mean, again, up front, they made it sound like we could expect more gameplay, which wasn't it. We got a couple of infos about the world of Eora, the game director. She explained a little bit. So, I don't know. Has any one of you played the Pillars games? Plural?
Yes.
I have.
Yeah,
finally, someone.
A little bit, yeah.
So it plays in the living lands in that lore in Eora. She explained that the narrator Kai, the one who narrated the trailer, is going to be one of the first companions that you will meet in the game. So. In typical Obsidian manner, you will have companions. There's a plague in the world, and of course, one of your tasks is to investigate that. And the game will have, of course, many different playstyles, different weapon types, magic. They've shown swords, of course. They've shown the pistols. They've shown all sorts of combat. And what I thought was real interesting is that they have more or less the same size as Outer Worlds, which was, I would say, a 25-hour game, roundabout, plus minus, depending, of course, on your play style. It will have also different open areas, just like in Outer Worlds, that are free for you to explore, but you don't have this one seamless open world. You have like different areas. So, what did you guys make of these things? Luke, let's start with your thoughts.
Yeah, I think, well, I kind of have to go back, I guess, a little bit on my thoughts on Avowed generally and the reveal, which is to say that I love Obsidian. I think they're great, and I think the game will be really good, but it wasn't really what I was expecting, artistically speaking. I thought it was a really cool looking game, but having, Pillars is like pretty dark fantasy. There are colorful areas in it, but it's quite grim. Yeah, in the same kind of way Diablo is. Maybe a lot less wet and gory, but still similar. And the original CG teaser they did for Avowed, kind of gave that
darker
Pillars feel, dark, dark fantasy kind of feeling. So I'm not really that high on where it's gone in terms of aesthetics. I do think it looks, and like visually it's not super impressive, but then Obsidian games never are, so I wasn't really looking for that for this. When I divorce myself from what I feel like the relation to Pillars, I think artistically it's a lovely looking game actually, but that's still kind of playing on my mind a bit. So a lot of the Avowed information still I'm kind of like, but I can't get over the look to some extent. I'm sure I will in due time and when I see more of the game. But I'm kind of glad that they've not really gone the big open world Skyrim style route. And there was an interview with, might be in PC Gamer or someone the other day, where they were saying that there was no need for them to do that once Bethesda came on board, right? Mm-hmm. Because there was no need for them to make a Bethesda style game, which they're not Obsidian have never really done that kind of scale before. And they were like, well, what do we do best? We do things like the Outer Worlds experience or Pillars, like these kind of wide open hub area stuff, but with a real focus on RPG mechanics and particularly on companions and choice and consequence. That's what we do really well. So I'm glad they've gone that direction, because to be honest, I don't think we needed another big, huge, massive RPG. Xbox has lots of them. The idea of a more streamlined, linear, quote unquote, RPG is much more appealing to me than say another Skyrim-esque game. So generally I thought the information in the interview was cool, and obviously I really do like the kind of, they've brought what Pillars had, which was the kind of interconnected variant combat where you could pick and choose from lots of different things and combine them and really, come up with a play style very bespoke to your character. And they brought that into a first-person RPG, which I think is really good. And the Pillars universe just generally is really cool. I think people will really enjoy it because it is quite dark and quite fantastical and a bit more wacky, say, than something like Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls generally.
I fully agree with what you said about the colorful art style. I did not expect that at all. But then when I thought about it, like you said, I do not need them to copy Skyrim, and go that road. So I like that they do something different. And since since Obsidian never really has disappointed me. I can't, maybe with Pentiment a little. Okay. But I'm really looking forward to this. The strength of Obsidian never were graphics. They were world building. They were deep RPG mechanics and great storytelling where your choices really matter. And so I still can't wait. So Asante, Dutch, what did you guys think on these new infos?
I'll let Asante go first. You can guess.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with Luke's take on it. I think I even saw the same interview that you did, Luke, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Same thing with the Outer Worlds, right? It's almost like they sat there and I honestly think most folks don't give Microsoft enough credit for this. They have put together the Voltron that you guys don't remember. Right, the youngins, I keep doing that. The youngins will remember when Respawn used to be Respawn, and now they are spread across multiple teams. Right, before there was Respawn, Brian Fargo, In Exile's teams, Bethesda's teams, like a bunch of the historical legendary RPG teams used to be one team that was then eventually broken into multiple teams, right? And by and large, and then they started sniping at each other and competing against each other, right? So you see Fallout 4, they go Fallout 4, here's the Outer World, a colorful Fallout 4. Here's our competition to what you've already presented, right? And I love the idea that between the time they showed you the teaser, which was let's be real, that idea for that game was incubated before they were part of Microsoft, right? And the time that they're showing you now, which now they're sitting across the lunchroom from their previous competitor, they went, no need to be a direct competitor. Let's do something different. Let's do something unique that can sit alongside what you guys do rather than compete directly with you. I think that's awesome. I think that's great. That's exactly what you want, right? You want one company to influence another company so that both of them get better. Just like I'm sure we'll talk about Starfield as it's coming, right?
Yeah.
When you see that combat, it looks like they went pens down. hand the entire work over to id, let them completely doomify it, and then bring it back. That's exactly what we want, right? We want them to work as a team, maybe not compete, but learn from each other and do different things to provide a good,
Although I did see an interview with Todd Howard today from IGN, and he was asked specifically that whether it helped out with the combat, and he said no, they did not.
Okay.
But they did help out on the technical side of things. They helped with the ray tracing and the global illumination stuff like that, but not on the combat. So
then somebody they hired there needs to be commended, because they got they gave us the deals. They gave us the Doom seal of approval vibe, right? It really looked like the combat had gotten an overhaul, and it could just be the creation engine that's gotten a lot better. But I will tell you, I think Avowed in general. Right, back to the question at hand. Avowed in general, what I saw, I love beginning, middles, and ends. Skyrim is a monumental achievement, right? And people play it for years and will continue to play it for years. But we don't need another one of those. We're actually getting another one of those in space, right? Yeah. So give me a great 30-hour experience with awesome characters and really awesome, intricate, well thought out combat and all of that. I am there. Give me color, because Fallout 4 was gray and brown and gloomy, and the Outer Worlds was awesome, right? So if you're gonna give me, Skyrim-esque but smaller, more concise experience, but colorful, I think that's what Skyrim needed in the first place. More color. I think it's great.
Yeah, I do like it too, and I also am happy that we are getting sometimes a smaller experience. Like your 25-30 hour RPG is with all the things we have to play, actually very well.
Not enough time in the day, Yes, exactly. You want a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you can move about your day.
Exactly,
yes,
exactly,
absolutely.
Exactly. So, Dutch, any thoughts on Avowed before we move on?
Oh yeah, lots of thoughts. So first of all, when people are kind of talking about the original presentation, showing it's dark and gritty and magic and things like that, judging by the lighting in the areas that you go to in here, it wouldn't surprise me that there were parts of the world that did actually look very similar to that initial showing, where you see in the dark cave with the fire in the background and things like that. There's probably an area like that, and it looks identical to that. I don't think the difference is there. And if we have a look at the level of detail that they've got on the rocks and some of the areas and things like that, I don't doubt the level of detail is also there in the game. I think it is just far more colourful as a grand scale when people have seen it in large than what they thought. So they thought it was going to be like this dark and dingy world, full stop. And what they've got is this grandiose, colourful world in the same kind of vibrance that we had in the Outer Worlds, which took people off guard. I don't doubt its level of detail, though, by any stretch of the imagination. And I think people will probably be pleasantly surprised when they get some of those darker, dingier moments in some of the caves where it isn't quite as vibrant and it is a little bit more meaty. But I am glad it is that 25-30 hour experience. That's not to say it won't be larger, because that could be streamlined. They said 25-30 hour. I didn't do everything in Outer Worlds, and it took me about 20 hours. I think if I'd really pushed on and did a lot, it probably would have covered about 40 hours, maybe 45 hours if I did everything and all the different side quests and so on.
Sounds
so
about right. So, I did not all, but a lot, and I would have to look up, but I would assume I played somewhere 35 hours plus minus, somewhere in that ballpark.
So I'm all for it. Again, with the likes of Starfield coming out, which is hundreds of hours, minimum hundreds of hours. I seen a funny thing on Twitter before. I think you commented on it as well, Boxy. The completionist saying it's 19 hours for Diablo 4 or 53 for completion. I was like, no, it's not.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Dude, you can spend 19 hours easily in Act 1. Yep.
There's no way that's a full completion at 53 hours. Not a chance. Let alone that's if you're skipping every cutscene and not listening to voices or anything. Maybe, if you're skipping everything.
No, not even then. Not even then.
But yeah, I'm happy with the size. If that is what they're kind of alluding to, like a 25-30 hour mark, not including things like additional side quests or anything like that. So yeah, that's good. I love the art style. I love the vibrance of it. I'm looking forward to looking at the abilities, all the different classes you can be, the character creation, how that works, the armor and the weapons that you get. And they've mentioned, of course, you've got flintlock pistols, you've got swords, you've got shields, you've got magic. So there'll be a lot to take in, a lot to explore. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm a big Obsidian fan. I think that game is going to be awesome. I love the Outer Worlds. And if that's their take on in a high fantasy world now with everything, I thought I was expecting something different, like Luke said, but sleeping over this 1 or 2 nights, I think I can't wait for it and to find out more. My only thing is that logo looks weird now that they made
they
it.
They changed it, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it kind of fits in more with the vibrancy of the general art style now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I did, I think like my view has kind of shifted slowly over the last few days, where I'm kind of like, okay, put to one side what you expected it to look like. What does it look like, and do you like it? And the answer to that is actually yes. I think it looks really, really cool artistically, and it is something a bit different. It's just quite hard to get used to it when you expect one thing. That's my fault, I guess.
I think everyone is like that. We all have things in our head, and if things don't look like we were thinking they're gonna look, of course, first reaction is like, ugh. But that's why it's so interesting, and that's why I wanted to have you on after the extended showcase, both of you, Asante and Luke, because now we had a couple of days to let things sink in. Directly after the showcase, you're usually a little overwhelmed. Yeah, we hype ourselves up, we get excited, and then things get announced or don't get announced, and it's always a lot. And also sometimes the interviews help. Yeah, we had a lot of interviews with Phil, with Todd, with Matt Booty, with everyone now, and we got a little bit more background, and with that, our opinions and thoughts sometimes shift a little. That's why it's exciting to have these conversations 1 or 2 days after, the thing. But yeah, what else was in the showcase? The Descendant. You already mentioned that, Asante. There's a beta in August 22nd to 28th. Dutch, we won't be able to play because we are at Gamescom. Exactly, we leave on 22nd.
Oh damn it!
I think you guys went out in the deal. Forgive me, but I think you guys won in that deal. You know.
Yeah. I actually booked my train today, Dutch. It's
nice.
So we meet 22nd, 10 a.m. main station, Cologne. So
nice, very cool. Yeah. I'm not jealous at all, I promise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even more hyped that the likes of Matt Booty and Phil Spencer said they've got more things to show at Gamescom and TGS, and so we're gonna. It won't.
I hope they mean it. They mean it. Yeah, it's about time they make those other events valuable, like these shows in LA are. Yeah. I'm sick and tired of it always just having to be here. Let that Cologne show be. Let it be the new E3. Let that be where earth-shattering news gets announced, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I said this yesterday or 2 days ago to you, Dutch. It's now the biggest show in the world.
In the world.
And why wouldn't you use a showcase or an event where 300,000 plus people are there? Are live there to announce meaningful things, and it made sense in the old days, that E3 is in June, because E3 was not a press conference show; it was a trade show. It's where stores and people in retail went to see, okay, what do we need to prepare for in our stores in this holiday? You don't have that anymore. Yeah, you can announce stuff way closer to when they launch. Actually, I think it's beneficial. If you would announce your stuff in August and it comes out in September, October, November, you could way better ride on the hype train. But so we shall see if Gamescom gets more love. for those bigger announcements. Towerborn. Luke, what did you think of Towerborn?
I think this looks good, actually. I really, really love the art style for this. I like the 2D, 3D stuff a lot. And I think it kind of looks like more intense and graphically pleasing Castle Crashers. Like, it looks like something like that. Which is no bad thing at all. I think that looks cool, and I like that it seems to have this kind of unique map unlock mechanic as well, which I think is something a bit different. Obviously, they're treating it in a bit of a live servicey type way, which is absolutely fine. I'm not a huge fan of like multiplayer games generally, but I do make exceptions, and something like this is kind of 2D scrolling fighting with loot, like that's kind of up my alley. So I'll definitely try it when it comes out, because just purely for the art style alone, because I think it looks incredibly vibrant and just really cool.
Anything Dutch and Santa want to add?
Yeah, I spoke on this before. I think Towerborn looks really intriguing. I don't think it showed itself well on the main showcase, and we had this kind of similar last year, where a couple of the games didn't show them, like High on Life didn't show itself well on the main showcase, but in the extended showed really well. They had good deep gameplay dive into it, and on this one it was the same. They showed much more of the game. They spoke about their plans for the game going forwards and how it works, and we've got a story thing built out here, and you've got upgradable armor and weapons, and you can customize the looks, and there's different areas to go to and things to compete against with your friends, and it's got couch co-op as well as online co-op, and it's also we plan on adding to the story, so it's a kind of these grid marks kind of can be expanded as time goes on. So yeah, it's actually intrigued me more having seen this, and it's a different art style again. It's intrigued me more having seen this, kind of how this plays out over time, but I'm definitely going to be checking this out day one regardless. It looks cool.
Sweet.
Absolutely. What they said.
What they said. All right.
That's right.
Then let's just continue by the way, it wasn't for me.
A little more thing. I love the fact that they've reverted back to the traditional Final Fantasy VII original overworld for the world map.
Tiny Tina Wonderland had the same thing.
Yeah, like an overworld as opposed to like a world map. So when you go into a cave, then it's an entirely different gameplay thing again. That's kind of what, again, traditional kind of old school kind of RPGs and hack and slashers used to do. You'd have this world map that would look like an open world that you run across, but nothing really happens. And then you kind of select an area and that's it. You go into it and
zoom
that's
in.
the zone.
Yep.
So
that old school flair. I remember that. That's cool. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Then we had Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online. I would skip over those if that's okay for you guys, and let's talk about the Hi-Fi Rush.
I will say,
please.
I will say, Elder Scrolls Online. Every time they show that anything about that, it's like, why am I not playing this? It's a whole freaking world of books. Why am I not playing this? That is amazing. I might play it this time. Okay, move along until the next year.
It's same for me. I love those games. I love Elder Scrolls, honestly. And I played Elder Scrolls Online, actually, when it came out, and I loved it. But when I became a father, that's what I sacrificed. I sacrificed my love for MMOs because I can't do that anymore. I just don't have the time.
Right?
Yeah, I
Not
just don't have
time in the day.
Says the guy who has 700 hours in H4, but at some point you have to make the cuts, I just gave up MMOs and.
But to be fair to you, age is pausable. When you're a dad, unpausable games are a no-go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, I just jump in 20 minutes, 30 minutes in one match in age and I'm good,
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. But yeah, I always think the exact same thing. It looks fun. It looks really good. And of course, they have to promote those. They are super successful, these games. Fallout 76 as well, so... Hi-Fi Rush is getting 2 new game modes on July 5th. They will also have 5 new songs for those new modes. So, Dutch, I know you loved Hi-Fi Rush. What did you think?
Yeah, I loved Hi-Fi Rush. Absolutely phenomenal game. Great that it dropped the way it did and it got reception the way it did. I don't know whether or not I'll jump into these DLCs because they look a bit absolutely insane for me. I don't think I'm good at these games, but not that good. Like, like 200 beats a minute. Are you kidding?
Yeah, we're speed metal level now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not that good. Yeah. I'm not that good. So no, I'll check it out. I'll see what the new updates are. And they've updated it a few times now as well. So it's great to see they're doing additional content for it, and hopefully this leads into a sequel.
Proper sequel. Yeah, agree. Asante, anything on Hi-Fi Rush?
Yeah, I agree with Dutch. I probably rival his love for rhythm music games. I'm a musician at heart. That musician part of my soul will not let me not play this 200 BPM mode. I will most likely turn tail and run when I too realize I'm a gray beard and my dexterity isn't what it used to be anymore. But I love this game. I think this game is excellent. I'm looking forward to more in it. The only thing that, like, my notes I'm reading from it when I saw this, I was like, great DLC, more stuff to do in this world. I want more. I want different genres in this world. Give me a DLC that's completely metal. Give me a DLC that's like hair metal. Give me a DLC that's like 80s rock. Give me a DLC that's hip hop. I don't care. I want different genres. Go far in the musical direction with this. I love it. I want more day one.
I haven't thought about that, but that sounds like a fantastic idea.
So many different genres, man. Yeah. You could Hi-Fi Rush so many different genres. You could do it. Different characters, different atmosphere.
Definitely.
So many different kinds of music. It would be great. I'm looking forward to more of it. Yeah.
So the next two games were Phasmophobia and Exoprimal. Luke, any thoughts on those?
I think it's cool that Phasmophobia is coming to console. That's been really popular on Steam. And very popular in the Twitch community as well. It's kind of set up really for that, and I think it's actually quite a cool game. I've not played it, but I've watched quite a bit of it, and I think people will enjoy it if it's a good port, which I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Exoprimal, I really don't know what to make of Exoprimal. Like, it just makes me want Dino Crisis, which I'm not getting anytime soon. So I'm kind of like, I hold resentment towards Exoprimal, which I shouldn't do because it's nothing to do with Dino Crisis. But I don't know. I mean, luckily for that game, again, it's coming into Game Pass, so I will try it because at least some of the concepts look, with the game look really cool. And Capcom are just delivering good game after good game after good game in the minute, so I will try it just because of that, I think. But yeah, other than that, not many thoughts on them.
Yeah, if it wouldn't be in Game Pass, I wouldn't try it, honestly. Yeah, no. So yeah, but since it's in Game Pass, I think, of course, we all give it a shot at least.
So Luke, I say your resentment is very valid, and it belongs with Capcom, because I too am waiting for that Dino Crisis future.
Yeah, just the remake, man. Just do the RE treatment.
I will say though, in defense of Capcom, I've thought, like, I saw the first initial trailers of this thing when it first dropped, and even now, I'm scratching my head. It looks ridiculous. Like dinosaurs dropping down like rain makes no sense. It just looks ridiculous. But everyone that has played it says it's freaking awesome. They say that the dinosaurs are dropping like rain and the frame rate is rock solid. People are super excited to play this thing that I see and think it's absolutely ridiculous. So, hey, I look forward to trying it in Game Pass. They did say my favorite words, which is campaign missions. Give me a campaign mission that I could do by myself. Okay. I really like you, Luke. I see this and I'm like, Dino Crisis. That's me. But it looks good. So whatever, we'll see.
All right. Dutch, anything to add? Or should we talk about Sarah Bond and the Developer Acceleration Program?
Yeah, that's a cool addition. Let's go over that.
All right. So, Sarah Bond announced a new program for ID at Xbox, the Developer Acceleration Program that will allow devs to even faster get their games published on Xbox. Especially the smaller indie teams will benefit from that. Asante, what did you make of this?
Great initiative. Terrible acronym. Oh, stop. I'm sorry. Stop, please. Just stop. Anyway, terrible acronym. Great name though. Great initiative. Great thing to push forward. And actually, believe it or not, some of the games that they showed off that were involved in, I know those games. I've seen some of those games. I love indie games. I love, literally 1-2 man teams like Luke, who hangs out with the indie gamer. I'm square in that camp. I love that stuff. Smaller the team, the bigger the effort, the more I'm impressed. So I've actually seen a few of those games that they were talking about. There's one in there that's like almost mimicking Max Payne. I forget what the name is called right now, but it's in the list. It's really so cool. Good. Yeah. The game is all polygoned up. It's very OG OG PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, but it's dripping with style and swagger and how it runs and how they like I think I've heard an interview with the voice actor of this game once, and it's just really good. Made by students, if you will, small team, and they're being pushed by they're being backed by Microsoft. I really appreciate that they do these things. They're doing something similar on with African developers. They're doing something similar with going deep into the various regions in Europe, finding voices that aren't normally what you hear. And it's strategic, right? Everyone knows that Japan is gaming and Japan is PlayStation, right? So you might as well find new voices to fill in the gaps for yourself. But while you're being strategic for your business, you're also helping more voices shine and bringing more interesting things into the gaming sphere. So I think it's kudos all around. I think it's excellent.
Absolutely. Dutch, I know you're a big fan of indies. I mean, there's no one on this panel who puts more effort in highlighting indie games with your indie community showcase each and every year. This year, actually, twice, so what did you think of this new program?
Yeah, it's a great program, and again, hand in hand with the ID at Xbox program, it helps to kind of accelerate some of those ID games to get onto the platform and begin creating sooner and easier than ever before. So, yeah, it's a great whatever helps new developers get up and running and on the system and get these new ideas kind of on our screens, the better.
I totally agree. Shout out to Dave Ramos, who sends in a super member chat and says, shout out to Kayasate, who just turned Hi-Fi Rush into a verb. Can Hi-Fi Rush so many different music genres? Yeah, there you go.
Just saying.
And he's right. And he is absolutely right.
And Hellblade's just added
great Dave Ramos.
Their update. Hellblade, not Hellblade. Metal Hellsinger has just added gorillas and everything into their newest update.
Exactly my point. Yeah. This is it right here. Bringing more member, bringing actual proper popular artists to add more to it. Great, man. I miss that time when rhythm games were taken seriously, and these guys are little by little bringing that stuff back. It's great.
Indeed. Indeed. So the next one, Dutch, I know you're a big Flight Simulator fan. So Paris was on the screen, again with Jörg, or Jörg, how he's always pronouncing it, but Jörg is a German. It's my father's name, actually. So, what did you think, Flight Sim?
It's actually more this update for Dune's more detailed than I thought it would be. I thought it was just going to be the craft, but instead they've actually crafted a map specifically for the Dune update, which is covering kind of areas of Dune itself, as well as a special mission within that. So you kind of train on how to fly it first and foremost, but then you also do a mission that they wouldn't tell anybody about. So we'll have to wait and see for that. But yeah, it's far more detailed than I thought. But yeah, that's an update to the current one, and not to be confused with the brand new Flight Sim, which releases next year.
I think a lot of people confuse that and think that the next year thing is just a DLC or update or something, but it's actually a brand new Flight Sim 2024. Yeah.
Yeah. A whole new SKU.
Indeed. So the next one, then they showed off a little indie called Go Mech Ball, and then they showed off Lies of P. Luke. So, Lies of P. What do you think? We have the demo, but
yeah, I've downloaded it for Steam, so I need to actually play it. But I mean, like the impressions I've read are actually quite good. Generally, particularly performance runs really well. Apparently, is a lot of fun. Looks good visually. I mean, I have this kind of thing about games that are super derivative, which this is. I mean, this is like super derivative of Bloodborne. Yeah. Clearly, like that's clearly what they've gone for. And there's this line for me where you go from kind of inspired by to just derivative of, and when you cross it, I tend to dislike the game. However, given the impressions and given there's a demo, I'll go and check it out because I mean, at least in terms of broader setting and story, obviously it's very different to Bloodborne, even if maybe, you know, some of the environments look very similar and the mechanics are quite similar as well. So I'll give it a go. Like I'll definitely give it a go because I love Soulsborne games anyway, so I'm always in line. And maybe this will, like, if I close my eyes or squint, this will be like playing like the Bloodborne remake or like remaster or the PC version of Bloodborne that we'll probably never get. So maybe that can be like the way in for me.
Yeah. I think it looks great. I do get what you're saying about the derivative stuff, but I really like what they did. They obviously put a lot of effort into it. Visually, it looks good. Performance Definitely. Apparently is really good.
Really good, yeah.
Have you played it, Asante?
Yeah, I played the demo.
Oh,
I played it on my PC, and I played it on the Steam Deck. Solid 60 FPS on the Steam Deck. 144 frames per second on my PC. It is like, so I hear you on the derivative nature of it, and you can definitely see where it wears its influences 100%, right? But I've always, in my opinion, I've always appreciated like different games that bring new things to the genre. And I will say now, clearly, I will bring it to the court. I am not as much of a Bloodborne stan as you, Luke. I have played many a Soulsborne game. Bloodborne is probably my favorite of the Soulsborne genre, but I am not as big of a Soulsborne fan as you are, most likely. I've played them all. This is the best looking one.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
By far, by a country mile. Give me Elden Ring. This is the best looking Soulsborne game I have ever seen, and it runs rock solid. Like, it is rock solid 60 frames while beautiful, like with a capital B. You got that gothic Michael Jackson. That's what I call him. Yes, he looks like gothic Michael Jackson. He's got the glove and everything. He really does. But it's so cool. Like, I will leave those, and I said it on my show, I'll leave those with better experience in the Soulsborne genre to tell me how well they do as far as combat is concerned. I enjoyed what I played of it. They kick your butt really easily. Although the lesser normal folks that are in there tend to be fodder a bit. So people have been complaining that, hey, it needs to be a bit more difficult. But the looks, wow. Like, people gave Elden Ring so much accolades. This makes Elden Ring look like preschool. The graphics are epically good. And they're so well optimized. That game is so well optimized. It runs like rings on a potato. It's excellent. So if that alone, I think it makes it should exist, and hopefully more people will check it out. So Game Pass, big W for them.
Yeah, definitely. But that shit comes out September 19th.
The Battleground.
The Battleground. It will be difficult for that game to find an audience on Game Pass.
I'm not. Yeah, it's all Starfield at that point.
It is. That's unfortunate. So, okay, the rest of the show was, of course, Hellblade. We'll talk about that in a second. But the other things were FanFest trailers. Then we had a base building game called Lightyear Frontier, which I didn't think didn't look really good.
The game looks good. The trailer was cringe as hell. Like, come on now.
Yeah, maybe it was that, but I
like Astroneer.
But it was way too.
It looks boring.
Boring, yeah.
Mech mechs. How do you make mechs look boring?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's ever played Astroneer. Astroneer, great game. It's like Astroneer, where you're on a planet. It's almost like baby's first No Man's Sky. You're on a planet. It's all positivity. No need to be scared of any kind of threats. It's base building. It's resource gathering. It's inventing cool stuff with friends. Very cozy and cool. It looks great. I'm looking forward to playing with my kids. But yeah, it was Ubisoft level cringe as far as the multiplayer stuff.
The gamer banter TM, it needs to end. Like, just do a non-banter, like non-forced scripted chat through walkthrough of that. It will show a lot better, because the minute I hear that, I'm just like, right.
It's like, oh,
because it's usually like actual gamer banter is more like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Exactly.
Why did I fall off that cliff? What is going on?
And it all
I'm actually looking forward to a day where we get authentic gamer banter from one of these companies, where you're just like going through and they go, "What the fuck?" and you're just like, "No, this is amazing."
Just censor it, like just censor it, just bleep it out, because it is people like, "Oh yeah, that's actually what people might like." Scripting it, I get why they script it like that, because they're trying to draw focus to particular features of the game. I understand that, but then just don't do it. Just do a narrator telling you about the game as people are doing it. That's the way to do it. Don't do it this way.
Yeah, agreed. So, and then they showed a sizzle reel trailer for 10 new indie games, and 33 Immortals closed the show with Phil Spencer playing the game with the devs, which looked interesting. I think this is the kind of game that you need to play for yourself. It's and see if it's really fun. Because of course, visually it doesn't really impress. We really didn't realize what is actually happening on screen. Especially with an MMO, you don't know anything about the mechanics or anything. So, but yeah. And the one we skipped was Hellblade 2, of course. Hellblade, I want to use that as a segue into the more general discussion about, of course, the Xbox showcase and the entire showcase week. Hellblade did not show up with gameplay. They've shown their studio performance capture, how they do it. We learned there will be a boat in Hellblade.
They didn't show us the boat.
They didn't show it.
Told us that
they told us that there was a boat.
There was a glimpse of a very basically modeled boat in one of the screens after as they were showing the boat.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
Touche, sir. Touche.
But yeah, I tend to Asante's opinion here. We didn't see it.
Although I will take a short detour, and just real quick on that 30. Where is it? On the 33 Immortals thing.
Yeah.
Even though the game didn't show really well, I really do think people should take a pause and just Phil Spencer, the gamer, was sitting there showing a bunch of people some games. It's kind of cool,
That is cool.
It's to be commended and hopefully we see more of Phil Spencer, the gamer, sitting there. We've seen Grumpy Phil,
He was like, I'm dead. He's like, what's going on? From the sky?
I want to see a weekly podcast where Phil streams and just like shits all over, just gets angry. Oh, this is terrible. It's freaking awesome, man. I thought that was really awesome. And the game is interesting. But just the fact that Phil was playing, Phil the gamer was sitting there playing, I thought that was notable and cool.
And I think that is one major difference in between all the other publishers. Which other, maybe a platform holder or third-party publishers, have you ever seen one of the CEOs just sit down and play games?
Exactly. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I think it's notable. I think it's cool. When he comes out and takes the arrows because he makes the big checks, we talk about it. When he does something cool, people should talk about it too. This was very cool.
That's true. Absolutely. Nothing to add there. I totally agree.
There's nothing. That's it.
It's absolutely a cool thing. So yeah. The Hellblade 2 boat, Dutch. Were you happy with what was shown? And we had a brief discussion yesterday, I think, on Hellblade. But we have not really seen now continuous gameplay. We've seen another in-game cutscene, which is probably seamless to the gameplay. Obviously, visually, it looks stunning, no doubt. But were you happy with the infos we got and what we've seen?
I'm always intrigued to learn more about Hellblade, but at this stage, for people who are wanting to get interested in this game, it doesn't cut it to just keep showing behind the scenes development progress. We need to see substantial things for the game now, and I've mentioned there with the combat, specifically with it being a no HUD game, people are going to doubt its combat anyway when you show it, because they're not going to believe it's in game. They're not going to believe it's the gameplay. They're just going to think it's a cutscene or some CGI or something like that. What they realistically need to do when they showcase the combat for this game is have it with a controller in hand, or sitting down on the sofa and explain to people this is me moving around, and then they can transition into the screen, so at least people know someone's got a controller in their hand, and then show the combat off. But yeah, at this point, it's great. Or it kind of reminded me again. I remember them a couple of showcases back on the extended showcase. We were expecting the same, and instead we got an update on Iceland. And they traversed Iceland, showcasing the cinematography and things. I was like,
we know you put a lot of effort in. We know you pay attention to the details, but we want to see the fruits of your labor, you know?
Yeah. We want to see it. And again, I'm never going to pressure the studio into showcasing something before they're ready to showcase it. And I've got high expectations for them, but I think unless they're ready to show something substantial, don't appear at another show. It has right now. It's these little glimpses. It's great, but people have seen enough of the cinematic-y sections now. They want to see a substantial gameplay portion of this game now. So unless next time they're planning on doing that, don't cover it again.
Yeah. I mean, that was a general criticism I've seen on other shows and podcasts, and other content creators said it, that while the Xbox showcase was great, a lot of things were not really gameplay. In-game, in-engine stuff, like Fable, like Hellblade, but I've heard that. So, guys, Dutch, I know your thoughts on the showcase, but I want to hear, of course, Asante's and Luke's opinion. What were your opinion about the, of course, Xbox showcase, but also what were your highlights from it, and what did you guys make of this Xbox show? Luke, let's hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, like I said, I think that the Xbox show was the best showcase in this E3, not E3 period. Definitely the best one that they've done for a very long time. And I think it was nice that they front loaded it with a lot of first party stuff, and they made clearly a conscious effort to try and show off a lot of what their first party is working on, which is really great and really exciting. And they kind of delivered the hits that people wanted them to deliver in terms of, we've got Fable, we've got Avowed, we've got some more Hellblade for you, tentative release dates for some of those as well. And then, kind of bigger surprises, like in Exile's game being there. I didn't really expect that to be shown so early, which was cool. So yeah, I thought it was really good. I do get the criticism a bit about, I think it's not just sometimes in that show that it's not just that they didn't show pure in-game stuff. It's that they didn't show when they did, it was very narrow, like the Hellblade stuff, right? Yeah. Where it's a tiny sequence. Really, the gameplay element of that is the bit where she walks to the water.
Yeah, and that's it.
It's just kind of weird.
And it's 3 seconds in the Fable trailer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and on the Fable stuff, all representative, I'm sure, of how the game will look. It looks stunning. But the gameplay elements, really, there's the giant sequence at the end that looked like gameplay to me, and then maybe a little bit in the middle. So funnily enough, like something like Avowed actually showed a lot more gameplay than I was expecting it to, and maybe more than most other games. Lots of not uninterrupted gameplay, but lots of gameplay sequences. So it was just a bit of a weird thing. Also, just going back to Hellblade, I just want to make this point because I don't know if people keep noticing this, and this is the only bit about this game that gives me pause for the final release. Every time they've shown the game, it's always in 16:9 with black bars.
Yeah.
Are they going to do that for the game? Is that what they're trying to do? Because I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan either. I've noticed that, especially since I edit a lot of videos, and I use those the footage, and it always pops up. Okay, damn! Now I have these black bars again in my video. So I've noticed it. I'm really not sure. They've said that they really try to go for a filmic look, and you can tell it. Yeah, you can tell it with a lot of post processing. They have a lot of film grain in it. They have a lot of chromatic aberration in it. They have that that lens. What's the effect when you have a bended lens?
Lens flares and whatnot?
No, it's not lens flare.
Fisheye.
Fisheye, thank you. The fisheye effect.
Fisheye lenses, okay.
Yeah.
Concave, convex lenses and all that.
Exactly. So they really use those filmic effects to strong degree. Look at the footage from this showcase. Yeah, the chromatic aberration is nuts in that game.
I hope you can turn it off.
I sure hope so. I hate it. I hate film grain. I hate motion blur. I hate all these artificial filmic effects. It's so weird. Chromatic aberration is an effect that is every camera manufacturer. I have a PhD in optics and photonics, so I know a few things about those things. When you build a camera lens, you would only typically use like one lens to have a good camera, but in reality you have like 10 lenses in an objective because you want to correct those things like chromatic aberration and other effects, of course, as well. But in video games, we artificially include them just to because we are so used to look at a filmed material, and so it's so weird that we do that. And every game looks 100%. Nicer without it. I hope so. I'm not sure, Luke, if we will be able to turn off the 16:19 thing.
I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I don't like that. I didn't like it in the order, and I would not like it here. I just think it's pointless. Absolutely pointless. If it's an option, great, but if they're including that in the main game and that's the only way you're going to play, unless of course maybe someone fixes it in PC, the modding community, which I think would be quite difficult if it's baked in, then. But anyway, sorry about the segue for Hellblade. But it just also Star Wars Outlaws. Again, that was 16:9, the gameplay sequence. I feel like that's probably not the intention of the full game. I think that was just the way they presented it, but it just strikes me as weird. What are these people? What are they doing? Stop putting it in our games. Like, it's not needed.
Yeah, agreed.
But anyway, showcase-wise, no, I thought it was really good. I thought it was very, very good. And I really enjoyed it start to finish.
Sweet. Sander, what did you think? And what were kind of your highlights?
By and large, I agree with Luke. I think the showcase was fabulous. Better than they've done in many, many cycles. This was really, really, as Phil Spencer said a while ago, they're not trying to do what the other team does. They're trying to do what they do. And it really was on display here. There was a lot of diversity in content. It wasn't the same thing over and over and over again. A lot of diversity in content. You barely saw a gun being shot in this whole entire thing, which I thought was super interesting, since first-person shooters tends to be the bread and butter of gaming, right? They showed you so many different things that were not your stereotypical, dude bro gaming thing. So I really did appreciate it. if you kind of look at how they doled it out, it kind of told the story. You know, I do hear the criticism of the gameplay lack of gameplay perspective, but the reason why I necessarily don't feel exactly the same way is because the first things they showed you were Fable and South of Midnight, and even the Star Wars one. Yeah. The initial one, it kind of gave me the vibe of, hey, this is how we set the tone. Here's how we give you flavor. If this is a 3-course meal, this is your appetizer. This is the amuse-bouche. This is just to kind of whet your appetite before we get into the stuff that's more closer at hand. Yeah. Right? Because the things we're showing you now are so far away that all we got are little hints for you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But because of that, I cut them slack for it. Right? I do hear those who have criticism for it because, like, to Luke's point, you know, it seemed oddly disingenuous, which is very strange because I don't think that's what they were going for, right? It's kind of like they're saying, oh, you want gameplay? Did you see that? That was gameplay. No, you know what the people are looking for, not the thing that you blink and you miss it. You know what the people are looking for. And if that's what you're trying to show them, show it to them. Don't fall on technicalities. You know, we didn't show you the HUD, and if you pause, see that part right there, that 2 seconds between the two videos, that was gameplay. That's not what people want to see. They want to see actual, you know, and you guys are gamers, right? Yes. More than most platforms. This is a platform that has shown to have gamers working there as well as, you know, so they know what we want because they are the people we want. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I thought about. Yes, I don't know if you've seen the Ubisoft Forward yesterday. And
I watched all of them.
You can say about Ubisoft what you want. You have the weird mobile games and Just Dance.
Look at that Prince of Persia reveal.
Yeah,
they showed you
gameplay trailer, and afterwards gameplay, like 5 minutes straight gameplay for every game. Proper gameplay.
From Motorfest was very disingenuous.
Yeah, that was weird. But even there, you got at the very end at least a little gameplay. So
it's almost like they're showing you stuff so you can technically not get on them for not showing you stuff. But it's just such a morsel of stuff that you blink and you miss it. It's there, but you blink and you miss it, which means it's not really there. It's kind of oddly disingenuous how they showed it all. Like, let me be clear. I thought this show was excellent. Like, I thought most of what they showed, like one after the other, after another, I was thoroughly satisfied when this thing was over. Clockwork Revolution is my game of show.
Sweet.
What do you call it? South of Midnight. I think we should have seen more of that on the extended because that was more of a tone piece. But that that seems to be your third person over the shoulder cinematic adventure game that no one ever knew because they didn't show any of that. So that I was hoping to get more meat on the bones in the extended showcase. I loved it, thought it was great. But those disingenuous moments, those little snippets that they did there, that's the same caliber as the next things you're going to see is for the next 12 months when you know you mean 2024. Or 2023. You know what I'm saying? You know you mean 2023, but you say the next calendar year because you can say your fiscal year, whatever. It's a little salty bit of disingenuousness that we caught you in. You know what I mean? Come on now. You know, if you don't have full gameplay to show, don't come out and say you got full gameplay to show. We have a lot of in-game footage to show you. You know, Fable, outstanding. Absolutely. It looks great.
Absolutely.
And those who never got to play the Fable Legends beta before they canceled that thing, that's how Fable Legends looked. I mean, not Unreal Engine 5, all chromatic aberration, like almost realistic looking like they've done it now, but like with older tech, UE4 at the time, I think, right? I think it was UE4.
It was an Unreal game,
but it Legends, It looked like that, you know, with the proper language and the clothes it was beautiful, very, 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 very beautiful. And then they canceled it last minute. So this is great, you know. It's just if you're gonna show us gameplay, show us gameplay
properly,
or say you're not gonna show us gameplay and just be honest with it.
You know I think we've seen more from Fable than I expected. I expected Fable to be there, but I said I expect like. an in-engine flyover Albion, landscape shot, something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
But to see the characters, see really the proper art style, they've shown more than I expected from them. But I have no idea what South of Midnight is. We have not seen Hellblade gameplay, and Avowed showed gameplay, which is cool. I think if they would have done what they did with the Avowed trailer with Hellblade and maybe a South of Midnight, like they did with Clockwork Revolution as well. We had smaller parts of like 5.
So really quickly about the Clockwork Revolution, like if you watched the Jeff Grubb interview after the showcase that was with Phil Spencer, he played that build last year.
Yes.
What you saw, he played last year. So that tells you there's actually proper gameplay build you can show off.
I mean,
because that's a
Booty
year-old
said
build.
that in the same interview that they are not going to the studios and say, okay, come on, you need to make a trailer, and they just
they're
use
capturing what you
there.
already have.
Exactly. They capture and then they edit it properly together. Of course. Yeah.
Why obscure the HUD to the point where no one believes you it's gameplay?
Yeah.
If it's actually gameplay you played a year ago, it's just it makes no sense.
I understand that point. Dutch, I've seen a lot of other people say that there were not enough big hitters in the showcase.
Load of rubbish.
Yeah, I mean we had a showcase where
earlier, so we'll recap them for those that didn't understand what a big hitter is. So we've got Hellblade 2.
Yeah,
we've got Fable, we've got Starfield, we've got Forza Motorsport, we've got Avowed, we've got Clockwork. What else?
Okay,
what else
I think maybe Clockwork and South of Midnight could be considered not the very heavy hitters.
But again, we spoke about this before. Not
based on the look of that game, Clockwork looks like it's the AAA of AAA budgets.
I do agree, but I feel I understand why people would consider an Exa game. Wasteland was a great game. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't. Just like Hi-Fi Rush was, but was Hi-Fi Rush a heavy hitter?
Flight Sim 24 on there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So I totally disagree with it either, but I've seen that a lot of content creators say out there. So I disagree. They've shown a lot of great things. My personal recap is, and after now talking about this on multiple podcasts, of course, and on your show, Dutch as well, and I think what stuck with me is they had a fantastic show. Starfield, of course, with the direct afterwards stood out. I think we'll talk about Starfield in a second, but it was a fantastic show. It was exactly what we wanted. They had 7-8 real first-party games in there. We know we got updates on the games they already announced. We got new announcements like South of Midnight and Clockwork. Yeah, so all fantastic. The only thing that I still sticks with me is the release dates, because Xbox biggest problem is consistent releases of games. And Starfield and Forza, especially with Starfield, I'm super looking forward to my most anticipated game, no doubt. But we were supposed to be playing that last year, and this year they have nothing else. And that just shows me either they haven't really planned ahead, or they're still, again, being inconsistent. Because after 18 months of no major release in between Halo and Redfall, we got a Redfall. And then 22 months after Halo, we get finally Starfield, the first real one that we want. And they had nothing else planned for this year. This is the one thing that stuck with me. How do you show your plan to release consistent games? Then 24, we have 2 games announced for 24 with Hellblade and with Avowed. When are they coming? Are we talking here like first half, second half? Because if it's second half, we have another 10 months of nothing in between Forza and whenever Hellblade comes out, or Avowed, whatever comes first. So this is the thing for me. If you have such a generation like Xbox had this gen, with really no major releases outside of Halo and Forza in 2.5 years, I think they could have done do a better job in explaining us, okay, how do we get out of this inconsistent release schedule? Looking forward to Starfield, but what's next? And when? Yeah, that's the one thing that stuck with me. Outside of that, I thought it was fantastic, and especially Starfield, guys. How good does this game look?
See, so Boxenberger, I honestly think that that last sentiment that you had about how Starfield looked and how and that's the sentiment everybody else has had.
Yeah,
I suspect that may be the clincher of the reason why you have the issues you have, because once they saw what you saw, they agreed what you agreed, that, man, that's a full game. That's all you need. I have a feeling there's a world where maybe there was another one coming. No prior knowledge, no hidden, no insider info. But I feel like there was a universe where there was a fork in the road where maybe something like a Senua Saga would be coming out this fall, this Christmas, as your big Christmas game. But after showing what they've showed with Starfield, right? Because we all knew going into this that at the end of this year, we're getting Forza Motorsport and Starfield, right? That's what we knew. And ultimately what happened, that's all we got. There was talk of another thing that would be coming in, right? But just like how we've now heard that Starfield was ready by Todd to be released last year, and actually it was Phil that pushed it back to say, hey, give it more room to breathe. Maybe some of that has happened here with Hellblade, possibly.
Of course. I mean, would it make sense for
especially
Xbox?
after seeing the big meal that is
I do agree.
Starfield, you know?
We will be playing Starfield for a decade, so of course it has enough content to get us through the year, no doubt, and we have Forza still coming. But that's my point. It doesn't have to be this year, but when is it next year? Be more specific here, because Xbox has to prove a lot. I wouldn't be happy if Hellblade comes out in the holiday season 2024, and that's the next big thing.
I
have to wait another year for the next big Xbox game. I wouldn't be happy with that. And that's the thing. I
think Xbox is not thinking of it that way. Which we think of it that way, but they're not thinking of it that way. And I think that's detrimental to them and getting them to connect with us.
Yes.
I feel like, hey, like you said, this was supposed to come out last year. So had it come out last year, what would you have for this year?
Exactly.
That's where you're thinking.
Exactly.
They don't think that way. They're going, well, we're here now. We have this now. Enjoy and move on.
Yes,
but we're thinking, well, okay, had we had this last year, what would you have had this year? They don't think about that. Move on.
I totally understand that, and it's okay to disagree here with me, but I just feel.
Oh no,
like
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Xbox has to prove a lot.
I think they deserve slander with that one. They deserve some smoke here. 100%.
After Redfall and having nothing for 18 months up until Redfall, I think as an Xbox fan, as Xbox fans. Deserve to know what is the plan after Starfield, and we have not gotten that, and that's the thing for me. But other than that, again, I really like the showcase. It's it is all I want. I did not expect. I know people are out there. Where's Gears? Where is Perfect Dark? Where is the next It game? Where's Indie? Where's Wolfenstein? Where are all these games? Again, we
salute to the indie gamer in the chat. Where is Silksong? I'm sorry.
Yes, I have that as a question here.
You didn't like showcase, you know.
Literally, look in my notes. Questions I need to ask. I don't know if you see it in the camera.
I do.
No updates to Silksong and Flintlock and Flintlock as well, and others in these. I wanted to discuss that with you. There were a lot of games in the 12-month window last year, that have not come out, especially in the indie scene now. So Silksong, Flintlock, a couple of others as well. Luke, what do you think? Why didn't they mention them at all? Replaced Paul in the chat, exactly. Replaced is also one that comes to mind. Pardon me. So no updates during the showcase, no updates during the extended showcase.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
I think, to be honest, I think it's probably out of not wanting to remind people that they gave those dates last year, right? Like, I think they just they're just like, let's just, because to be honest, that show last year for me and for other people was pretty bad. And the main reason that show was actually bad wasn't specifically because of content, it was because it focused purely on 12-month games, which everybody knew was not a realistic target for some of those games. Like everybody, like it just wasn't realistic. And then obviously for some of the bigger indie games, you know, like Silksong, for example, I mean, trying to, I guess, tie Team Cherry to like a specific window is silly, because they're only a small team and they will take a long time with this game. So I personally I just think it's probably Microsoft going, okay, look, let's just move on from that show last year. Like, we'll give people a really good show, and nobody's going to question why, you know, these games haven't released that were supposed to release now or just before now. So which is fine, and I wish that's the approach they would have taken last year, to just say, look, you know, here's a load of games, some of them look really cool, some of them are really far out, some of them are close, here's some release dates, here's some release windows. Everybody's fine with that. I mean, you can't, I always say this for every showcase, but it's true, there's a balance between like what you're showing. There's a balance between showing CG stuff and gameplay, but it's a very fine balance. And there's a balance between having stuff that's really close and also giving people that kind of dream of, oh, okay, yeah, in a few years you're going to get to play this thing, look how cool it looks. So I think Microsoft's approach this year was a lot better than last year, and I think specifically they've tried to avoid a lot of the stuff they said last year, because I think they know that 12-month stuff just didn't go well for them at all.
Indeed. Yeah, and maybe that's the reason why they didn't give the proper roadmap after Starfield.
They've kind of reiterated as well, and again, thanks to Giant Bomb, which wasn't detailed on the show itself or an explanation, but they've kind of stipulated there. They've had these meetings 6 months ago to say, okay, what is ready? What are we thinking on release dates? They even mentioned and joked about Flight Sim. They said, obviously, calling it Flight Sim 24, you can't release it in 25. But should we force them to put a number of their year in there so they have to release it that year? So every game has their number in. They joked about it, of course, but what they're essentially saying is we're only putting year dates on there of games we know are releasing in that year. They won't show anything or say anything about games that aren't releasing in that set year if they're announcing it in that year, which is why we didn't get a definitive date on Fable. We didn't get a definitive date on Clockwork or a definitive year on Midnight. Yeah. Well, but gentlemen, they're confident on Avowed. They're confident on Hellblade. Both them teams are confident in releasing that point. They don't want to henpeck them into an exact date for it to be delayed by a couple of weeks or 3 months or a month or 6 months. They just want to. You've got a bit of pressure because you're releasing next year, but we don't want too much pressure. We'll finalize that date later on in the year. And as we've mentioned there, even if you're looking at what we think for Hellblade would be the best course of action now, they missed last year. We know it's a 24 game now. So will it be the return of Hellblade at the Game Awards for that release date?
Well, but you know what, Dutch, though? The problem I have with this is, and I hear you and I agree with you, but I really think, like, and this is a different conversation to have, but we'll take this quick tangent. But yeah, they deserve the smoke for this, because I think they made one key mistake. And that one key mistake either they've learned from it and they haven't said anything, or they haven't learned anything from it. Tying yourself to a game you do not, that's not responsive. You're not responsible for that game. You're not representative of that game, right? When Sony does it, they have timed exclusives or their marketing partners or something. There's a reason why Sony can push whichever third-party team they're doing, because they're literally making a game for you. You, Xbox, are just getting it as part of Game Pass, and it goes everywhere else day one as well, right? Silk Song being an example. So my only bit of smoke that I for some reason, I think they don't learn, why the hell are you tying some indies who have different situations, obviously, to your own calendar? Yeah. You're literally asking for smoke.
I agree on that.
That's just nuts. It should only be first party ever on your calendar. Like ever. How is it that you are going to tie your hands to Team Cherry, who's wonderful, who's amazing, who makes amazing games, but they're not a $2 trillion company that can make a game as quickly as possible, right? So now you're ready to get egg on your face for an indie team that didn't finish their job. But you're quick to put them on your calendar. What are you doing? I don't understand why they do that.
I was referencing more the first party.
The first party, yeah.
The indies, I agree. Don't handpick them into anything.
Replaced, all those. It's wonderful they're on your calendar, but it should be messaged as clearly as possible. You want a release date? Go talk to the dev. That's how it should be messaged, as clearly as possible, so the egg doesn't keep falling on Microsoft's face for a third-party game. It's just so strange to me.
Agree. Big shout out to Paul AFC, who sends in a super member chat for being a channel member for 24 months, man. Thank you so much for the continued support. He says, shout out to a star-studded panel. Shout out to you, man, and thanks for the support. You make a lot of sense, Asante, and I don't know why they don't learn from that, because it's a mistake they keep doing for, I want to say, at least 3-4 years now. That they take basically the blame for a third-party game or non-Xbox game, being delayed, being released buggy or messy or whatever. They've taken a lot of flack for that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do agree. So, gentlemen, we are closing in the 2-hour mark. So any final things, Luke, to wrap this entire showcase season up? So what did you think overall? We also had other showcases, and now some weird... the stream ran out, so I'm gonna just switch the overlay real quick. Pardon me. So there we go. So to wrap out the entire showcase season, we had Xbox showcase a couple of weeks ago. We had, of course, the PlayStation showcase, but we had also Ubisoft, Capcom, and others. What did you think of this E3, not E3 season? What were some of the things that really stood out to you? Were you happy with what was shown?
I thought it was I thought it was really good, actually. It felt a bit more like E3 this year. It still wasn't quite there, but because I think, the in-person events were a lot more prevalent this year, you kind of got that vibe from it, which was nice. So yeah, I thought, so many good games shown, revealed, deep dives into certain of them. I'm trying to think of highlights for me, because there's been so much just stuff, but Alan Wake 2 I think is probably my most anticipated game this year, and I thought that showed really well, although they didn't show quite enough of it for my liking, but all the impressions of it were really good. I really loved the trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I thought that was really, really good. Fable being shown, really hyped for that. Clockwork Revolution, that was a big one. I thought that looked really, really clever, even in its early stage. There's so much.
And Starfield. What are your thoughts about Starfield? Sorry to interrupt real quick, because that's the game everyone is talking about.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because coming into, so I've said this before, but in terms of Bethesda Game Studios RPGs, absolutely love Elder Scrolls, right? Adore it, or will play them forever as long as they keep releasing them. Fallout, really dislike, just don't get along well with the first person RPGs that Bethesda make on that. So Starfield for me was a bit like I didn't know where it was going to land. Like, and I still don't because I haven't played it. I was kind of like, is this going to be an Elder Scrolls or is it going to be a Fallout? But that direct really kind of ratcheted up my hype levels for it. I thought it showed really well. I was really impressed actually how visually how well it came across. You know, their lighting model is really impressive. I thought it looked really polished. They'd clearly worked on the gunplay. That looks a lot better. And then it has obviously all the RPG elements and more that you would expect from Bethesda games. So I think I'll really enjoy it. But from that showcase, I thought it just looked really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I went into it kind of like, yeah, I'll definitely play it and hopefully I'll like it. But I came out of that direct thinking, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that now. It's gone kind of up several levels in my most anticipated. So that was actually another highlight, come to think of it, because it kind of came into it thinking one thing and came out of it thinking another. So, but yeah, generally, really good season, you know, for game reveals and stuff. I kind of wish Nintendo had been here as well, like in and around the period, but everybody knew that they weren't going to be. But you know they'll come again with it. So my one disappointment: not enough Hideo Kojima stuff. You know,
that's not a disappointment.
Nothing.
That's
one thing. That's
a bonus. You get extra points for that.
I got nothing. I didn't get his Xbox game. I didn't get any more Death Stranding 2. Very disappointing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a big Kojima fan, so that's nothing I've missed personally, but I do get what you're saying. He was at the Apple thing, though.
That was he was.
All right. So, Asante, what did you make overall of the season, and of course also about Starfield, because that seems to be the talking point, right?
Yeah, I will tell you, overall, I think it was a winner. You know, I think Keighley did pretty good. Keighley's show for me, to me, it looked like he had an hour of really great content, and then he doubled it, and it kind of filled it with some stuff that wasn't necessarily the best. You know, I hate to say it, Sonic showed pretty well there. Prince of Persia showed really well there. I'm looking forward to playing that. It was pretty awesome. Some people don't like it. I think Prince of Persia showed great.
It's not that. It's the fact that it's releasing at 50 quid. No chance.
Oh yeah. The but Ubisoft is going to Ubisoft. Of all the studios and the publishers that need money,
they're all at the same price.
True. Exactly. You know, but let's be clear here, right? Of all the publishers around, they're the ones that are teetering on the edge. So I can see them being more money hungry than others, right? Like, you know, Square screams the loudest, but I think it's Ubisoft that's feeling most of the pain right now. You know what I mean? So, and the fact that they're still making great stuff, I thought was really cool. You know, so I was impressed to see what I saw there. I thought it was good. The Xbox showcase, of course, was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I think by and large this season was a plus. I haven't seen all of it because I still want to go back and look at like Devolver. They always have an amazing like scripted showcase, which I'm sure I missed it.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see the PC.
Of
course, as it always is. You know.
Yeah.
It's probably more than usual, actually. So
there you go. I want to see the PC game show. I want to see the future. There's a bunch of them that I still have not missed. I've seen the highlights of the games that have come out of them, but I want to see the shows proper fully, right? So by and large, I think it was a successful show. You know, I think Microsoft was successful in what they were trying to accomplish, right? So I know people were like, hey, you know, what are we going to see? At the end of the day, we still don't know much more. But to be fair, right, if you're looking at the quote unquote E3 season where you include Sony into that, you don't know besides Wolverine what what's going to be on the PlayStation. You just don't, right? This year, you have Spider-Man. Next year, you have Wolverine. That's all you know. At least Xbox filled in those gaps a bit more on their side. Not clearly, obviously, they don't have actual dates. They have years, and we need them to be a bit more, like you were saying, Boxenberger, a bit more consistent, dependable with their release dates and their consistency, right? But at least they're shooting their shot, and by and large, it looks successful. I'm happy with it. There were a lot of things missing, right? But I, for one, enjoy the fact that we have new things to talk about rather than just filling in what we had to talk about before, right?
True.
Right? They gave us new things. They gave us new looks at things. They gave us new elements. So to me, it's super successful. But as I have said on many events about these showcases, I don't honestly care about one game or one IP or anything like that. To your point, Boxenberg, I want consistency. I want this show to be great. I want the next show to be great. I want the time in between to see actual consistent releases, right? So that we can stop this, hey, will they, won't they? Are they finally past the point where we can trust them to release something? You know what I mean? They've been in and out, so much so that the public tends to not believe when they say they're going to do what they're going to do, right? So I, for one, I'm excited about this. It's a new turning point for them. Today is ABK news. Did you know that? Most people are still talking about the showcase from yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a plus. You know what I mean?
Plus,
usually absolutely. ABK drowns out everything.
What we said in the intro when we were still waiting for you, usually we have Luke on, since he is a lawyer, to discuss ABK stuff.
Discuss ABK, exactly.
I'm so happy we don't have to discuss it.
Yeah,
today, ABK news actually happened, and most don't care. Yay!
That's how it's supposed to be.
There
right?
you go. yeah, absolutely. So I'm just excited for what's to come. I think it was all super successful. Now I want Xbox. I want PlayStation to counteract. I want more.
Absolutely.
Show me what you got.
I mean, that's the thing about the PlayStation showcase. We all hope that they start to lay out their roadmap for this gen. Yeah. So what is the Naughty Dogs and Band Studio and whatever working on? And they didn't do that. They showed a bunch of third-party games and a couple of games as a service title that nobody was really excited about, and we still have no idea. So if you compare it, of course, to that, Xbox has an incredibly laid out roadmap. The problem is exactly with what you said. Since they have been in this and out, and in and out, and
there's no consistency.
Exactly.
Trust, yeah. And quickly to touch on the whole the Starfieldness of it all. Looked amazing. Looks like multiple games in one, right?
Yeah.
Looks like multiple games in one. I see so much Mass Effect Andromeda here. The moment-to-moment gameplay, like with the jetpack, it is very Mass Effect Andromeda in the best way possible. I know people didn't like Mass Effect Andromeda, but the moment-to-moment shooty bang bang was super fun.
Yes,
it was. You didn't have to even listen to the story at all because the moment-to-moment shooting was awesome, and it looks like they've evoked some of that here. Yeah. I'm excited to see what they do. I think it's awesome. This did bring about the conversation of 30 frames per second stuff, right? And as with Luke, as with me, we will be enjoying this on 4090, so that's not a problem, right? It once again brings about the whole conversation. I see people in the chat, mocking the most powerful console or whatever.
Yeah.
Once again, I will end this by saying this was not made under Xbox. It wasn't made under Xbox. Just like Redfall, it became first party a week ago, relatively. Right? Based on the Phil Spencer interview, they got in there, and they say they got in there early, a year and a half ago. How long does that game take to make? A year and a half? I think not. Right? They got in there a year and a half ago. Right? You want to judge them on, oh my God, the most powerful console in the world? Judge them on Forza Motorsport. Judge them on Fable. Games that started within the Xbox stable. Now, if it starts within the Xbox stable and it comes out 30 frames per second and they still don't end up using all those hardware features, then the smoke is so righteous. But right now, I think people are being a little bit, maybe they don't understand the full ramifications of what we're looking at, but they're patching a game that was third party. So I think it looks great. I'm looking forward to playing it. And if you don't like the 30 frames, there's a platform for you. I know it's terrible.
Yeah, the problem is, but like, the problem is with the whole 30 frames thing as well is people are just like, they could do 60 frames on Series X, but the game would look like a smudge.
Yes. Yes, and that's where their creative, the idea of, we made a creative choice. I think maybe how they said it was a bit disingenuous, and the reason why I equate it to disingenuousness.
It's not. Todd doesn't want.
Well, but hear me. The reason why I equate this to disingenuousness is FromSoft. Their games are super difficult, super difficult. Every time you push them about it, they say what? Creative choice. Do you ever get a version that's not that? No, you don't, because that's their creative choice. I guarantee you, we will eventually live in a world where Starfield runs at 60 frames on the X and the S.
Sure.
And if that is a creative choice, they would have never... Well, no. There will officially be support for 60 frames. And because... Well, no, but the fact that they are still pursuing the 60 frames tells you it's a buzzword to get you to move on, not a creative choice. Because if it was a creative choice, there'd be no need for them to go back and fix it.
I don't think it's a fix. I honestly don't think it's a fix, and I think we need to avoid saying that. He doesn't want it at 60.
Well, okay. I'm honest. You're right with that. It's not a fix.
The problem is, if he doesn't want it at 60, why does he allow it to run on PC at 60?
Exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly. They would lock it 30 everywhere.
The artistic argument, if it's an artistic choice, like we talked earlier, 16 to 19 in Hellblade, artistic choice. But you get it in every version of that game. That's
every version. Doesn't matter which version you want. You'll just get that version because they decided to make that version.
I'm looking forward to seeing the level of rigs that are able to run this game at 60 on PC, because it will not be anywhere in line with the Series X.
Sure. See, and those are the decisions. And you're right. You're right,
Dutch. The recommended specs of this game on Steam right now,
are less than the Series S. Yes.
Yeah, they are in the ballpark of a Series X. So somewhere in that, don't in the specifics, but in that ballpark. And the recommended specs on PC will run the game at 60. Yeah.
Yes. At 1080.
Made it at 1080. Maybe.
At 1080.
Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Why not? Why not go to 1080? Yeah, you have FSR. You have all these other possibilities. Dial down a little bit the level of detail. I don't think. I don't understand why we don't get the option. It's all about the option.
Well, the reason why you don't get the option is because you're on a console. That's why you don't get the option.
That's the thing. But I don't. But I do not like that. I would also like console gamers to have options.
They can tune it on PC, but people will tune it on PC to the point to get the game to run at 60, but it will look nothing like it does when it's running. Like it'll look terrible.
I for one with my i300 I for one Dutch with my 1309K system with my 4090. I take your bet, sir. I think I'll get it to run 60. But I bet you'll see it running fine on a ROG Ally.
If you have a look at the Steam database,
what I was saying, I will be playing it at 60 on the Ally.
1080. Like the vast majority of people on Steam DB is still 1080s.
But my point is, I bet you'll find this game running 60 cleanly on a ROG Ally. Why? Because those who have the option will use that option to get it. Exactly. It will. We will debate this again, Sir Dutch, because I bet you're wrong. I bet you're wrong.
I'm with Asante here. Sorry.
It looked like Zelda.
Because the hardware they show as a requirement is like even the Series S's recommended spec, the CPU spec is lower than the Series S's CPU.
Yes.
The recommended spec.
That's it. Not the minimum spec, the recommended spec.
And
that's
right?
that's my point. And
and that's the reason why I say it'll run 60 frames on the Ally. I bet I can get it to run 40 on the Steam Deck. I bet I will. And it will look righteous.
Yes.
Look like a smudge. Like Zelda.
I don't know.
It'll be like you're playing Zelda.
You do realize, Dutch, I'm going to be tagging you in a lot of pictures coming forward.
Shout out to Paul. Shout out to Paul in the chat. He's saying I have a 3080 and I will make it at 60 and it will look beautiful. But okay,
it'll be fine. Yeah,
3080 way above the Series X. Get
that? So let me give you a little bit of real quick bit of what do you call it? Tinfoil hatchery on my part. I think the problem is Series S most likely hasn't hit 60 because they want to optimize it for Series S as far as graphical fidelity is concerned. It's not stable, and they don't want to come out and go, here's our system. The X runs solid. The S sometimes not sometimes. So instead of giving you a wishy-washy experience. Lock it all to 30 until we can give you that solid.
Yes.
That's what they're doing. And then they're using the creative choices as a way of getting around it. That's my thought.
That's the thing. So I would... I think, and that's the problem with about this entire discussion, disingenuous and whatsoever. The thing is, it is not an artistic choice. I don't like that explanation. I really don't. If they would say, okay, we decided to not give gamers the option because we think everyone should experience at 30, then it would be the honest truth. They decided to not give us the option. And it is not a hardware thing. Phil even said that in the interview. Luke, 1 second, yeah. Phil even said it in the interview. It is not a hardware thing. It is a decision from the creators. And they decided to not give console gamers the option. It has nothing to do with artistic choice, because artistic choices are the same over all platforms where
across
your game comes out.
Yes.
And that's not the case. And so it's not an artistic choice. So, Luke, but what
are your thoughts, Luke?
I agree. I mean, I don't see how a technical parameter like frame rate could be an artistic choice unless your artistic choice is to run at something like 24 frames per second because you want it to look like a film or something like that. Like, there's no way that you could ever say, well, it's an artistic choice to run at 30 frames per second. I get why look, I mean, they're saying it like that because what's the alternative for them to say? You know, it's not as if they're going to go, well, actually the build's struggling to run locked 60 frames a second. And I know Todd spoke to that somewhat. He said, like, there are moments when the Series X does run at 60, but clearly the inference is that it's just not consistent above 30 frames per second to actually at this point feasibly run it with a separate performance mode. So maybe that will come down the line and you'll get your 60 FPS mode. But I don't like the creative choice stuff because as you said, Boxenberger, like Hellblade 16:9, the Order 60:9, those are artistic choices, like kind of crap ones, if that's true for Hellblade. We don't know that yet, but
it's still an artistic choice that can't be denied. Absolutely.
It's a vision for the game that they have. That's fine. But it's not fine, but it is fine.
You'll never hear Ninja Theory say it's an artistic choice, but there's be a patch to undo it later. No, that's what it is.
It's an artistic choice, but you can turn it off. You know, like that's how they do it. So I don't really like that. I mean, I understand why Starfield runs at 30 frames per second on console. I think just in terms of base level, because ultimately the game is super CPU intensive. And the one thing these consoles are not particularly great at are CPU driven tasks. Like, that's the area that they are much improved from last generation, but it's still not quite, where they could be. Maybe that's why we'll get pro consoles in due course, and there's a balance with all of this to be had, and particularly with a systems driven game that's on the scale of Starfield. I get why that they've chosen to lock it down, but I'm sure if they really push, they could get a 60 FPS mode. It might not look very nice, resolution wise and stuff like that, but it would be there for people who wanted a smoother frame rate. So
exactly. And I also want to mention one thing. There is the option, and some games have done it, of 40. And 40 is also, especially with the VRR screens that are more and more in the living rooms, is an actual option. I decided to play Hogwarts on console in the 40 FPS mode, because it gave me a significantly higher resolution and a lot more level of detail. And after I turned off motion blur and after I turned off film grain and everything, it pushed it above the 42 frame mark, and then VRR kicks in, and it was so well playable. There was no need for the performance mode at 60.
The only one I thought, the fidelity mode was great. Fidelity ray tracing wasn't. Fidelity ray tracing wasn't great. There's a lot of dips.
I can't remember what it was called. The mode I played, but you get my point. The same, by the way, Ratchet and Clank did it as well. 40 FPS mode, and if you play that now with VRR, it is also an option, and that's my point. It is. You can give gamers options on consoles these days. Most games have it, at least the bigger ones. We have at least two options. sometimes 3, 4, 5 options. Why not do it? Taking
this,
this,
I've got another thing then before launch, which is probably another thing they're considering.
Yeah.
Would you release a game with a locked frame rate mode 30 frames and an unlocked mode because they haven't got it stable at 60 at the moment, allowing VRR to be used?
Why not?
At which case then you hand it off to the media to do their reviews, and it gets absolutely obliterated,
torn to pieces. Yes,
yeah,
as a first party, I don't think that's something you
point.
can do. Third party, if you're third party, you can do that because they do that in third party, and then the next console benefits from the unlocked frame rate. But as a first party, if Microsoft did that, the charge would be led Digital Foundry. Oh, look at how crappy this thing is running. It's barely able to hit this and hit that. It's basically showing you behind the curtain. It would not be cool.
I was going to say, to be fair, there's a few people that have tried to call out the 30 and, this is terrible. It shouldn't be 30 on consoles, blah, 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 have been saying about power. And then a whole host of developers have come out and said, I can understand why, because it's super intensive.
Yeah.
Like, the scale of that thing is insane.
Yeah.
It is.
But I would say for the purpose, specifically for the purpose of a game that's releasing in September, having an unlocked mode or something that isn't stable at launch for reviewers would be death.
It would be the kiss of death. Yes, it would. It'd be the kiss of death. Because the fact that it's
fair point. Yeah.
Because of the fact that it's there just looking bad would be enough for people to point it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, true that. Dave Ramos sends in a $5 super chat and says, first of all, thank you for the support. And he says, let's call it what it is. The artistic choice is Todd's best way of phrasing what are limitations seen on console, and that's okay. Maybe 60 FPS later. Listen, even for those who don't have the option to play at 60 on PC, I still think Starfield will be a phenomenal experience. I have no doubt about that. Yeah. And we have been playing 30 frames games for decades, and we enjoyed those games. And
not every 30 frames game is built the same. Wait to play it before you complain. Some 30 frames are rock solid.
I played Forza Horizon 5 Forza Horizon 5 on the last gen consoles is a perfect example. It runs at 30 and it does not feel like 30. I've played it on a One X.
It feels super smooth.
It is. You can do that. And that's why I'm not saying that the game is going to be and we should boycott it and not play it because it's 30 and those ridiculous things. On the contrary, we'll all enjoy it, and I will enjoy it on my Xbox. That's the beauty of the Xbox ecosystem. I can switch in between all my systems, have cross progression and everything. So awesome. Yeah. But I will enjoy it. But I still think that taking away the option for gamers is not a good thing, especially not for the biggest first party release that Xbox has probably ever had. And that's just a thing. But I don't want to drag it out too long on the 30 FPS discussion. Dutch, what was your final wrap up of the showcase season before we let everyone out of here?
There were so many awesome games, and I would. That's the best thing about this time of year is we get to see all these new games, whether it be the new Star Wars Outlaws, which looked fantastic.
Yeah,
really well done showing
absolutely.
That off.
That looked so good.
Big get for Microsoft as well to have potentially the marketing rights on that one. Really well done. Of course, Flight Sim looking awesome with its new version next year. Starfield looks absolutely insane. I ended up on the back end of it, of course, getting the controller. Thanks, Boxy.
You're welcome.
Getting the premium edition on the back end on that as well. I pre-ordered the premium add-on because, of course, with Game Pass, you don't have to get the full thing. You can just buy the premium, which is 30, which means you get early access, 5 days early access to Starfield, plus the content, plus the new mission, which they've got called Shattered Space, I think it's called. Clockwork Revolution looked absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see more of that. Then Spider-Man 2 looked good when they showcased that. Hellblade, I would have loved to see more, but of course, still super hyped. South of Midnight, super intrigued by that and the art style, and the devs have said that's the art style we're going for the actual gameplay as well. So that's going to be really cool to see that come into fruition when we see more of it. Fable looked absolutely fantastic, and the Wizards at Playground. I can't wait to see more of that in action. Then we've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which really showed well. I'm loving that new open world that they've showed there. That looked absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to that one. Glad to see Metal Gear Solid Beta Snake Eater as well. Again, that's way out though, way out. And yeah, then there's just a whole host of other little things in there as well. But so many awesome things. Super great time over the last couple of weeks, kind of looking at all these new games and getting all these new announcements. And that's what we're here for in the community is to get excited about all the things we're looking forward to. And God, there's a lot. And Starfield's going to take up many hours. As Diablo is right now, Starfield's going to overtake that. So can't wait.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought it was great. The PlayStation showcase was a bit of a downer, but after that it went up. This Keeley thing wasn't the best thing in the world, but there were a couple of great games. And if I always say when I come out of a showcase and I have at least seen 5-6 games that I'm interested in, it was a good show. I felt the same about Ubisoft yesterday. I thought Avatar looked cool. Can't wait for that. Prince of Persia looked fantastic. Assassin's Creed Mirage, going back to the classic Assassin's Creed, and then Star Wars looked fantastic. So I thought that was really good. I like Dragon's Dogma 2 from Capcom. Capcom. Sorry. Super excited about that. Xbox nailed it. We discussed that. Fable really up there. I'm a big fan of the old trilogy. Yes, I said trilogy. I even liked Fable 3. So there's a lot to look forward to. And if I look at the next 6 to 8 months, what games I will be playing, of course, right now, Diablo, Final Fantasy 16 still looks good. Just don't have the time right now, but I will definitely pick that up eventually. Diablo.
And by all accounts as well, I was going to say, by all accounts, our resident sim racer, Forza Irwin, is over the moon with the way Forza have come out in the end. So the career mode on that is super detailed. It's CRPG, so they've added XP gains and level ups for your cars and things on this one. Cool. So super detailed for Forza as well. So by all accounts, Forza's also knocked it out of the park this time around with the sim racing community. They're super happy with that. So
I still think it's weird that they didn't hype Forza more. And it's super short showing in the main showcase. It's not even a mention today. And it's one of the 2 big releases for them this year. So that was a little weird, but I do agree it looks fantastic. So yeah, then Alan Wake, Luke mentioned that. Can't wait for that. I'm really excited for Assassin's Creed Mirage as well. Spider-Man 2 is coming, which looks fantastic, of course. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then we have Avatar in December and many other games in between. So the next months are absolutely fantastic for gaming, and this showcase season showed so many things I'm really genuinely excited about. So yeah, it was a great time. And like Pong always says, it's the golden age of gaming, and it's just true. So yeah, let us see what the chat thought of the showcase today. We put up a poll. I'm gonna close that, and so we had 53% say that's an okay show. 22% thought it was a really good one. 18% thought it was boring, and 5% said it was not what they expected. So overall, I think the most comments are very positive. I know for the LA fans, it was great to meet in person again, even if there wasn't an E3 per se. FanFest brought a lot of people together, a lot of cool guys from the community. Ainsley is there. We have Cognito, of course, there. We have Hargit there. We have Ben, and even Idle Sloth is there. Yeah, so there's lot of cool things happening there. So I thought it was a great time, and overall, I think we can get excited about things. But yeah, let's close it with that. We are already 2.5 hours in now, but that happens when you have games to talk, right? So Asante, Luke, thank you so much for joining here today. It's always a blast to chat about gaming with you gentlemen. So let people know where they can find you, Asante, and what you've coming up.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's like you said, it's good to wait for the dust to settle just a little bit, and then take stock and talk about what we enjoyed, what we didn't. It's been a great show, and of course, always a pleasure getting to chat with Luke, and of course the Dutch man himself. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate the invite. Folks can find me Asante, TKO Asante on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, all those different places that I can be reached. You follow me, I follow you back. I am
links are in the description, by the way.
Oh yes, yes. Thank you. I am the co-host of the Gaming Circle podcast. We are doing lots of shows, on Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard U.S. time. Let's see. We actually have some interesting guests that are lining up. We're waiting for the dust to settle, but we have some really cool guests that may be making an appearance in future episodes. I won't spoil, but except for say that some of them maybe were on the extended showcase and have the need for speed. I'm just saying they will be on our show sooner rather than later. So it's really
awesome.
Cool. So come check us out. I'm also now hosting a show with Mr. John Wolf. We're in beta mode a little bit. We're testing the waters in beta mode a little bit. We're calling it the PC's playground, PC gamers playground, and basically it's a game, a place where we can come and discuss PC stuff, and how does stuff work, how does stuff not work. Come to us, and we promise you we will not prevail in FUD about drivers and other ridiculousness that isn't valid in 2023. So we feel like some of that stuff has pervaded a little bit too much. So we're starting something to possibly provide some actual information on how PC gaming is done. So come check us out. That would be on 7 p.m. Monday nights, and we're getting that going. So hopefully folks can come and check us out there. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate the invite. It's always great chatting with you guys.
Yeah, again, thanks for coming on. It is in fact a blast to chat with you. And Luke, where can people find you, and what are you coming up?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the invite again, and always love chatting with you guys, and also Asante, obviously. Now a 3900K and 4090 brother with me, it's the place. It's a great place to be. Until something else comes out.
Then we throw it all in the bushes and start all over again. Oh, well.
And we go again. Yeah. But yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. And follow me at LukeSteele90 on Twitter. And then I'm also on the Indie Game podcast with the Indie Gamer on the Indie Gamer YouTube channel as well. And we're going to do some other stuff in the future as well. But yeah, go check that out if you love indie games.
Oh, definitely. Shout out to Indie. He's also in the chat. Best channel out there for indie coverage. The passion
absolutely
of indies just comes through, and you always learn something when you tune in. So highly recommended. And thanks again, Luke, for coming on.
My pleasure.
Well, it's always fun. Dutch. So showcase season's over. But what's next?
Yes. Showcase season is over, but we're not finished yet. Still going. That's only 6 shows in 3 days. It's not too bad.
No, not too bad, right?
I jumped on Dave's show as well the other night, so I've done 7 shows. Back again tomorrow with the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, where we will be covering the best and the worst from all of the showcases, or highlights or key picks, and some of the ones that we thought were a bit of a miss. And then you'll find me everywhere at Wondering Dutch, and of course on YouTube. But other than that, we'll see you on Thursday again for the regular World of Gaming.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure if we do one this week.
You might
honestly,
take a break.
I need a break, and also the wife needs a little attention. So I might be, after doing like 4 days straight, nothing but podcasting and content stuff. It's like I think also time to give her a little attention, but we shall see. I have to. We will see whether we have a show this Thursday, but we will definitely be back next week. And if the guest we have aligned actually comes through next week, we might have a big surprise there. Other than that, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who tuned in. It's always a blast to chat with you guys. Our community is fantastic, and. So big thank you for tuning in today and all the other days. The support is absolutely amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. Also, big thank you to everyone on the podcast services. If you made it this far, appreciate you guys. We've seen a good growth, Dutch, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts over the last couple of weeks, which is absolutely awesome that we have a community over there as well. We appreciate you guys. And yeah, maybe on Thursday we have a next, and definitely next week we will have a World of Gaming. But other than that, don't forget to game on.